Do you want to introduce the...
Oh, yes.
Are you ready? Okay. All right, we're continuing with our budget hearings. Right now we have Bill Clark from the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Well, as I was saying, I brought along a separate sheet here with some of the highlights of the new initiatives, proposed changes. Pretty much everything else is boilerplate in my budget, as it has been for the last several years. The items that are listed here are, I guess we'll call them new and sort of unusual. Should I go through each one, or just to highlight them?
Yeah.
All right. Item 1 is the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Program Assistant. Currently we have Michael McGuire, who runs this program. It's been extremely successful. I gave you some of the statistics of this year's collections. 20 collections, 135 tons of hazardous material collected. 5,061 households participated, plus 37 businesses. Not to mention, or in addition, we have a SHOPS program, the Mercury collection program, the FLARES program that we're running. The bottom line is, Mike is a pretty busy guy. We have currently a seasonal employee that works with him, part-time seasonal, 6 months. And I'm asking that that person be increased from part-time seasonal to full permanent part-time. So it's basically funded at a roughly $16,316, and it will roughly double that amount when we go year-round.
How many years? I mean, excuse me, how many hours is that?
That's 25 hours a week. And
That's what you're looking for?
Yes.
It's 25 hours a week?
yes, so we currently have this person, actually you'll be signing hopefully personnel papers next week, we'll be advertising it for this season. But it's currently funded at a 6 months, 25 hours a week, and I'm asking to increase it to year-round 25 hours a week. So that's item 1. Certainly in need, and currently we work with the AmeriCorps as much as possible to help with that program, and we still will continue to do that, but certainly we need another part-time person there. Should I keep going, or do you have questions on that one? Okay, item 2, Buy Fresh, Buy Local, Cape Cod. Currently, we have $15,000 in a contractual line account in the county extension budget, which supplements a grant that we received from the EDC to run this program. Been a tremendous success, and because of its success, I guess, I would like to ask that we change the appropriation from contractual to another part-time year-round person to run this program. We're dependent on grants right now, and we never know where we stand until almost the end of the fiscal year, whether we can continue for another year. And it's certainly been a success in providing an opportunity for advertising in coordination of farmers, fishermen, shell fishermen, restaurants, and businesses. And we have a website, and it's been great. Yes.
Now, this part-time, would it be year-round or just in a season? It'd be year-round
yes.
part-time.
So another.
It's really grown, yeah.
Yep.
Now, Bill, you know, both of those, since one's 25 hours and one's 30 hours per week, trip the benefits both for health insurance and for retirement.
Yes, I understand that. Yep. Currently, they do not. That's right. The Buy Fresh program is, she's a contract person and she has no benefits. And the seasonal person, because of the seasonal nature of the job, there's no benefits. So this would also add the benefits to these people.
With regard to benefits, I know that there's a restriction once you identify the amount of hours that somebody has to come to be in order to be treated as a full-time employee. But on contract, could we increase the amount of hours in a contract and still and treat it as as an independent contractor?
Well, the answer to that, as you know, especially Pat, you, is both yes and no. It depends on what they're doing. And under federal labor law, if they are contractual, but essentially you're managing them like an employee, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So there's this, I think there's 10 or 12 questions that you go over a position for, and if they're doing certain things, then they're really an employee and they should be treated as an employee.
So if you have to supervise them, if they are using any of your facilities
Stuff.
or
Yeah.
equipment, and
Basically, a contractor is, here's a task, go do it, bring me back
bring me
to
the
finish the
results, yeah.
task. Yeah, that's
Okay, so
basically.
the next question would be, is if, for example, if you added to your head count, instead of adding to the hours of one person, in other words, if you added head count on the basis of part-time hours rather than increasing the hours of an individual, would that accomplish your objective, which is to get more coverage on the program?
So in other words, add another person, is that what you're saying?
Well, if we're worried about, or we're concerned about triggering the benefit threshold,
Right.
the question that I raise is, if it's a matter of covering the amount of hours in order to get the job done, should we consider adding another part-time person that would not trigger the threshold, but yet accomplish your objective? So that's a question in terms of what's the functional issue that you're dealing with, and not to mention the fact that by, let's say, creating another part-time opportunity, there's another person that might be hired.
Well,
And I put that to Mark more than anything else.
Well, the answer, Bill, is the more you shave a person's hours, the less, also the harder it is to fill that position. Because there's not a whole lot of people out there who want to work,
Well, right
8
now-
hours a week or 10, there's a few, but the quality of the candidate may suffer as
And
well.
on the other hand, if you're going to have someone work 25 hours a week who then becomes benefit eligible, why not just have them work 32 hours a week? Because for the cost of the benefit, you're better off having them work more hours. Because the
Exactly.
ratio of the salary to the benefit.
Once you trip
is-
it, you trip it.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree, I was just being conservative with my request, so.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that you have to recognize that it's not just the
Just that
16,000
money, it's
or
a
whatever the other
it's
number is. It can be substantially more.
All right, well, I think we get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 3 is a truck replacement. We have 3 trucks right now. That the marine program, the Lyme disease program, the hazardous waste program they're in use for those 3 programs. One of the trucks, the one I mentioned here, the 1990 GMC,
It's only 21 years old.
we originally got that from the sheriff. It was a surplus from the sheriff, and we've been maintaining it as much as possible over the years. It has over 150,000 miles on it. It's in need of frequent repairs, and I'm asking to replace it. And just the other trucks, the Lime truck, we originally got with a grant, and that is, gee, off the top of my head, I believe it's around a 99 or a 2000, so that's at least 10 years old as well. So I held off. I think we talked about this in the past couple of years, but given fiscal constraints, I've been holding off on requesting him. So here we are. It's just at the end of its road, and we need this vehicle.
Okay, unfortunately, it has gotten to that age. But is this an either-or situation? How mission sensitive is the vehicle?
Oh, we use it regularly for all these projects, so it's very
Yeah, our
sensitive.
fleet trucks don't sit idle too
No.
often.
Okay, I think that's a point they're trying to make.
And I would add, we don't capitalize these types of equipment. They're useful. It's just typically not there. So
Okay. All right, so that would come out of
it's general fund money.
is there any way to capitalize it?
Well, you could. Your policy could. You could stretch your policy and say, well, a vehicle. But typically, we try not to do. It's just like computers. We just don't do that. It's not a wise thing. You'll be paying the bonds long after the vehicle is.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think we have to look at, because we are approaching a time when we're looking for some capital bonding for some construction work.
For some other things,
Right,
yeah,
and I'm
definitely.
wondering if that could be, when we look at a financing I'd say financing those larger projects as to whether or not we could include that as part of, part of the financing of the whole project.
No, and the reason being usually the useful life is what I'm saying. Policy-wise, you just don't want to do that.
Do we consider energy efficient vehicles? I know sometimes the way you have to use them, they may not make energy efficient vehicles. That would be the
Certainly, we'll look
workhorse
into
that
that
you
as
might
we
need.
go forward, yes.
Are these 4x4s?
Yes.
Okay, well, that would, they usually don't have.
The next item, I'll definitely look into that, but my guess is the truck that we're needing is going to be would be hard pressed to find one that's energy efficient.
Okay.
It's just, needs four-wheel drive, it pulls a boat sometimes,
Yeah.
we're in wooded areas, where
Yeah.
dumps and so forth, so.
Right.
No electric plugs.
Yeah. Item 4 is a vehicle replacement. We have a 2005 Blazer. Now, the extension staff, we have 16 members of the staff, and the trucks that I mentioned are used for bigger projects. The remaining staff share this one vehicle. So I'd say at least 10 of the staff use it off and on. We sign up for it in advance and all. So it only has 70,000, I guess. I shouldn't say only, but that's the fact.
Okay.
It's roughly a little over 70,000, yes.
Blazer is the big SUV, right?
No, it's a small one.
The small one, okay. Because I'm thinking my son, I was talking to my son the other day, and he's talking about, he has about 110,000 on Blazer type vehicles. He was talking about replacing the transmission and possibly the motor based upon the replacement cost, which is a lot more than 25,000. I think it's close to about 60,000.
Well, I got a quote from the state bid, from the vendor that the state goes through.
Okay.
And that's,
And that's where that comes
yes,
from?
that's the
Okay.
number.
Wow, that's a good deal.
That's a good deal.
However, so anyways, we use it a lot. It's used daily by probably a different person on a daily basis, transporting things around the county, going here and there to projects and programs. This is the vehicle that I would consider, if there's one available, a hybrid. It's nice to have the four-wheel drive, and I know, I looked at the Chevy state bid, but Ford has one, and I know the
Ford Escape hybrid.
Escape has a hybrid.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the price is on that, but
Big
certainly would look into that, because
Yeah.
if nothing else, the gas prices are going up and up and up. So that's item 4. And last but not least is the boat replacement. We have a 92 17-foot Carolina skiff that we use for marine projects, all our shellfish projects throughout the county. And we have this eelgrass project we're working on. 2 of the staff are certified divers, so they dive off the boat, planting eelgrass and doing shellfish projects. In any case, it's a 92, so it's old. It's for the repairs that we were told that need to be done at $4,800 to the whole package. I could,
Might as well buy a new boat.
yeah, I can do this. I can probably patch things up and do it for less. The fiberglass is going and other things. So, anyways, again, under our state bid, I think we can replace it. It may not be new, but that's okay for $6,000, and certainly would get a lot
Under
of use.
state bid, it wouldn't be new. What do you? I am not.
Well, I don't know if under state bid, I might be able to get one for 6,000. If not,
Oh, I see
would
what
look.
you're saying.
I would look for a used. Actually, we bought this one used. We saw it ad in the paper and checked it out. That was at least 10 years ago.
But I had looked at getting, I have a 17-foot, was it Hobie skiff? And I actually got it repaired over at Cape Tech. They replaced the engine, and the hull was in pretty good shape, and then I donated it to the town because we weren't using it. But though they had boats that they were selling over the Tech, that they had, some were in consignment and some were, were ones that wanted their control that they repaired, and then they were moving it.
Well, if we get funded, I'll definitely check it out,
Yeah.
because I'm involved I'm on the advisory group for the
I think
tech
it
too.
was,
So
yeah.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that shop anymore though, the marine shop.
Marine shop? Yeah, it was the last time, see, I was over there in December. Yeah, I think.
Oh, they had it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, there was, I think they would just have the marine engine part that I
That's right.
heard. Okay, I don't, the other part they may not have anymore.
You
Okay.
can get UMass to build you a concrete boat. They have that concrete boat contest every
Yeah.
year.
Well, Don't laugh, don't laugh. You know,
I'm not laughing, they have a concrete boat contest every year.
concrete boats have the same, have the same, pull the same draft as a fiberglass boat. And remember, the Romans used concrete.
Well, I know, it's an area wide, I think Harvard has a team and UMass, and they all build concrete boat.
I actually knew a guy that was building a concrete boat in his basement, and then he discovered it was in his basement.
A little hard to
Because of
get
the
out.
foundation.
So those are the 5 items that are new, proposed changes, etc.
So these, Bill, the 2 positions don't have anything to do with kind of rearranging Bill Burt's former
Yes,
position?
they do.
They do, okay.
I'll tell you what happened. This is in case you are not sure what we're talking about. The hazardous waste position, when Bill Burt retired, we took and split his position, and I found through an arrangement with Woods Hole, we're going to pay not quite half, but about half of the salary and benefits for his former position with Woods Hole money, and the other half is for the county. The money that was left from doing that is going into the hazardous waste assistant position. So that's what's happening this fiscal year, and it will continue to happen in the future. So if you look at it that way, it's not really new. Half of this money, maybe a little more than half of this money, is not new money. It's
So you're not
reorganizing,
You're not increasing headcount.
No.
You're not
Well, no, we will not be increasing headcount.
Okay, so you're extending hours. Of the
Extending
existing
weeks.
weeks.
We're going from 6 months to year-round,
Okay.
part-time. Yeah.
All right, so that 140, let's say 1,040 to 280. Okay, but then with full benefits, there's a vacation and. All right. All right. The rest of it. Is there any particular highlight that you want to hit out of it? Because you have a lot. You're doing a lot of stuff.
Sure are.
and Bill, I have to say that from my point of view, and I'm sure the commissioners share that, this is probably the most visible part of county government on Cape Cod, because you're everywhere. There isn't one part of the life of Cape Cod that the cooperative extension isn't engaged and involved in a very positive way.
When I look at the staff schedules every week, believe me, as a department, I'm amazed at all the different things that are going on between nutrition and the wellness programs and 4-H programs and hazardous waste collections and shellfish programs and the Master Gardener programs and Buy Fresh, Buy Local and so forth.
Do you get any specific funds because it's called a cooperative extension?
From UMass, we get $58,000.
That's what I thought. I knew there was a reason why it was called a cooperative extension because of the funding.
Now you'll see in some of
But you know
the...
what about the title? And this, I'm getting off track here a little bit. But I think the programs are, as Bill said, they have real impact on the Cape and for the people here. But when you say cooperative extension, people don't know what that means. I mean, I didn't know what it meant until you explained it to me, actually. So it would be nice if we could come up with a name, something, and cooperative extension.
Well, I think if
And
we just continue to use Cape Cod Cooperative Extension, that might reinforce
but
the idea that
it's the cooperative extension.
Nationally,
Maybe it's just me.
it's a national organization. Every state in the United States has cooperative extension, and we're one part of it. And in addition to the $58,000 we get from UMass, we have the luxury of being able to pick up the phone and call specialists in different fields who are on staff. Some of the professors have research assignments as well as teaching assignments, so they're available to us at no cost to the county, so to speak.
Oh,
So
I mean,
that's
you
part of the
never want to
arrangement.
jeopardize that,
Yes.
obviously.
Now, you'll see in some of the line items for salaries, the amount is up a bit, and that's partially because we're changing our funding formula a bit. Currently, many of us, a portion of our salary comes from UMass. Directly.
Yeah.
So I get a check every month from UMass. So my total salary is, well, whatever my total salary is, subtract the UMass portion, and the county pays me the difference. So I get the county check, then I also get a UMass check. That's true of several of the staff. It's, for example, if a person gets $5,000 from UMass, they have a payroll thing to go through every month for that amount of money, and it's pretty complex. And they've been asking for several years now if we would prefer, if we would take a lump of money as opposed to divvying it out on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis. So after Mark and I have contemplated this for a while, and effective October 1st, that arrangement's going to change. So instead of paying us directly, it's going to come through as income to the county. So you'll see in some of the salary accounts, the appropriation request is up, but on the income side, there'll be money showing as an income. It doesn't show as income now because it goes directly to the people.
We don't get
Oh, I
it.
see. Right.
So it'll balance out, and it'll come out in the wash.
We've been reluctant to do that because it's a whole lot easier to cut a line item in a budget that doesn't go directly to an employee than it is to cut the pay of
Yep.
an
Now,
employee.
if there's a face on the money, then it's hard for UMass to cut it. But if UMass being as big
gonna
as it
be what
is,
it's gonna be.
they look at 58,000 and say, well, we'll cut them down to whatever. There's no face on the money, so
Yeah.
that's been our reluctance, but
So what, you're now telling us that there's chances that a year goes by and they basically attack that amount of money. So what, you know, what can we depend upon?
at this point in time, we can depend on 58 grand, and I don't know what the future brings.
Right.
They're under pressure as like everybody else.
Okay, so that means
But-
that if they cut that money, then that the people that are currently under that payroll would be at risk. Because we'd have to look at what our finances were,
Well-
look at the direct contribution that comes from Massachusetts.
Well, hopefully that's not the case, but
Well, I bring it up because...
I
you
would
know,
say it's more likely the county's at risk because we have people classified in a salary system that says you should be paid X amount. And we use that system, and the UMass has used that system, and they use the offset, as Bill's been saying. Now they're just saying, well, instead of mailing you a check, it's about 10 staff people, instead of mailing 10 checks every month to the staff people, we're going to mail one check per year to the county, and we'll pay them.
pay them.
You're right. It's easier to cut that than it is to cut.
and actually we have a hybrid going on as we speak. The last 3 positions that have changed, they have elected to go with this route. So we have Bill's former position, Bill Walton's former position, and Mike's current position, which was Marilyn Lopes' former position, all are on this new system. So part of that 58 that I mentioned is already under this system, the new proposed system. They've been bugging me and
Once
threatening
they
with
do
it.
that and it becomes under more control, I think what Pat's point is that we should, since we're not, or our people are not directly reliant as much as they were on the cooperative extension money coming from the state, perhaps we should start thinking about how do we come up with an identity that both captures the cooperative extension and the goodwill that comes from that, plus identifies this as being a wholly Cape Cod, Barnstable County function from the
Right.
point of view of service delivery. So think about that.
It's a tough one in
Yeah,
that
but-
when you
Yeah.
name
Some
something.
rebranding.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
rebranding. As we
Yeah.
do our organizational assessment,
Yeah,
maybe we
it's
can come up,
rebranding.
I know. I have one other question, and that is, I've noticed in some of the budgets that departments buy copiers, and I just wondered about buying versus leasing. You've probably already looked into that. I don't know.
My philosophy has always been you might as well lease it because 3 years down the road,
Yeah, well, so
It's gonna
why
be,
wouldn't we be leasing them?
I would say most people do lease it.
The last
You
one
know-
we bought.
Yeah,
You
some
do?
of them buy, but I say
I
most
trade in.
people now lease because
Well, I
with a
just
lease,
know
it's
that-
just to get rid of it in 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And they
you get a
come
new
when
one.
there's something wrong, I just
Yeah.
know that I've been using a copier elsewhere, and it's a lease copier, and it is the absolute best copier I have ever seen. It just does everything, it always works, and I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't everybody lease copiers? Because it's maintained so well.
Yeah.
Well,
Just something to
ours,
think
we have a
about.
maintenance contract, and
Yeah.
it came with, when we bought it, a 3-year maintenance contract that came with, under the state.
But then you have to get rid of it after a while.
Right. We're up to 3 years, but
Well, what kind of recovery would you get out of it for buying? I think that's the decision you make when you do a lease versus purchase.
Right. well, part of it also is not knowing without a crystal ball where the county finances are going to be 3 years from now, and if I'm into a lease,
Right. You might lose your copier.
I could lose it, or I could stress some other area in the budget. If we have the money now, just buy it and get it over with.
We'd be making a lot, or was it Kinko would be making a lot of money off it.
Well, you're the ones out here. I'll buy Pat. Good luck.
Oh, good.
I'll be
Thanks.
back.
All right.
Actually, You don't need to, unless
Oh,
you're
I
going
do,
to the
'cause I'm going to the
assembly.
assembly,
Okay.
yeah.
I think the ones out here are all, the ones we have are all leased.
Yeah.
Well, I think
might
that,
be,
I
one
think
of the-
that in the budget process, Mark, you'd advise us as to what the right decision would be to do, right?
This year we're not in, next year I'll be looking at a copier, but this year I'm not requesting one. So whatever we have to do, we'll do, but.
That actually is a question about the vehicles too. I know the sheriff used to lease a couple of vehicles, because he got some decent deals on leasing, but.
Does the state have?
Yeah, there's a
program?
vendor that does a lease program for vehicles.
Well, all of these things, as far, I think that we have three parts to look at. One, the absolute requirement for the equipment. And then the second, the second thing is the evaluation of purchase versus lease as far as what makes the most sense. And of course, the final thing is whether you can do it at all.
Right.
Okay. So I think that we could probably come to an agreement on the need. We could try to figure out whether or not we could afford it, and then then we could go from there.
If you'd like, I will look into a lease. I looked at the purchase when I prepared the budget. I'll be happy to look into the lease programs. I hadn't.
And we can do that. You can also just do that when you go to
When it comes
procurement.
time.
The bank can say, yeah, we can get this for 3 years, and this is going to cost you X, and that's going to
Right.
cost you Y.
Yeah.
I think the
When the
first thing
time
is to
comes.
get, is to get an agreement that we can include it in the budget. And that's what, I think when Mark comes back to us, I think that's the, what I would expect you to tell us, right?
Yeah, and then part of the reason for purchase bill is this year I can come up with $25,000 to buy a truck. Next year, when I need $10,000 for the lease payment, that is
That's been my
part of that,
concern.
too.
Okay.
It's a kind of a different assessment for a public entity than it is for a private individual. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the big thing is, I want you to believe that, you have a sympathetic ear.
Yeah, and I would agree on
Yeah.
the vehicle thing. We're definitely
The boat,
sympathetic.
I think we have to talk about the boat a little bit.
We have to talk about the overall
Yeah.
budget picture, which is just going to
Right.
start coming clear to me. And frankly, I don't see a whole lot of issues in it this year.
And just, just going through it.
Very
This-
modest in
these
terms
are
of the
these are things
requests.
that you've been doing for years, and they've had a significant impact. The one thing I'm concerned about, as I always am, is the management support, for the land management part, for the wildfire. What do you call the fire breaks? We had Lee and Mark Foley earlier today, and I'm very concerned that we continue to put more land in conservation, but the land bank support doesn't include the management piece.
That's right.
And more land that's in conservation means that there's more responsibility for management, and at the same time, all of the conservation people and all of the onboard municipal people are not available to do that management piece. So I hope that, I don't recall seeing that in there this year.
Oh, it's in there.
It's in here.
Yes.
There is some money in
Before
there.
Christmas, I think it was December 20, I ran a conference for the Conservation Natural Resource Departments on the Cape, Land Trust as well,
Yeah.
on land management issues. And we had probably 8 or 10 speakers covering all aspects of land management as well as funding sources. And so we're attempting to look at this in different ways.
Well, I just
Through
think,
education and through
Yeah.
trying to provide some
I just
competitive
think
grants.
that piece is so important, given,
Well, for the small amount of money we've spent from the
Oh,
county's
yeah,
point of
yeah,
view,
wonderful.
we've done some incredibly
Oh,
great
yeah.
projects. Really has
Unbelievably
given,
great.
yeah. We've
so
given
that's
the,
something I don't want to let go.
Yeah.
I mean, that
appreciate
is a
that.
high priority, because that's something.
well, we
that-
were at 50,000 a year and we're down to 20.
I
From
think
what- so
I think
back-
if anything, we should revisit that, because I think you get to a point of diminishing returns. If it goes too low, it doesn't really have any effect at all. But we do want to, I would like to see it continue, because I know the value that it has to the community.
Sure.
At least we're trying to anticipate something that we have been expecting for some time, and God help us.
Now, do you have the capacity issue? I know for a while there we had put some money into the fire project, and then it built up over time, because I know the person you had back then doing it
Yep.
had some health issues. And
Well, fire is, what do you mean by capacity? We
Do you have if Bill's increasing the budget amount, do you have the capacity to spend it, basically?
well, I think we're in good shape for fire, but on the land management,
land management,
we
okay.
always have more requests than we have money.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So-
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So if we had another 20,000, you'd put it to the land management, not necessarily the
Yes,
fire right now.
that's right. And with regards to the, I guess another pitch for what I'm asking for, with the turnovers in staff in this year and last year, people have started, people that left, retired, whatever, were at top step, and the new people are at lower steps. So there's the number that we had in the past is
Less.
higher than
Yeah.
than we have now. So I guess given that, I'm hoping to justify
Right.
some of these
Offset.
additional offset some of these expenditures.
Yeah, so some budget room, you're
Yep.
saying.
Right.
Yeah. We gave us some room.
When Bill left, that did occur to me.
Well, the other thing is, last year you funded my hazardous waste program to $25,000 for a regional collection. I'm not asking for it this year. So,
Who's doing it?
well, what happened was, last year, Yarmouth was only doing one, and Barnstable, at the time, said they didn't have any money. They didn't budget for one. So we were concerned that if the towns were starting to back out of these because of budget issues, we needed to have another regional collection where anybody in the whole county could come to a collection. That was the argument. However, Barnstable for this fiscal year has 3 collections in their budget, and Yarmouth is fully funding this. So I don't see the need
For
for
this
that.
year or next year, you mean? What about next year?
Well, they're going to do one in the spring, so somehow they found the money to do one in the spring, and they're planning on requesting that for the fiscal
Next year.
12 as well.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't see the need for that, so we had $25,000 in the FY11 budget for collection. I have not asked for that. Instead, I'd rather have this person, this program assistant for Mike, to work on these programs.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's a
So
25.
everybody's, yeah, so you're offsetting it.
Well,
I'm offsetting that with,
Well, I would expect nothing less that, that you would be looking at all of that.
okay.
So, I have 2 things. ARC, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, it's a little premature because we haven't had our
Right.
It's not really a budget issue.
It's not a budget issue, but
it's
it's
an issue issue.
things to think about in the future that might be developing. As I was saying, I said I think the first person, well, I think it might have been you that mentioned ARC to me, but then it was followed up with Jim O'Connell down in Wellfleet.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Shellman down
Yes.
there, who was saying this was a great thing. And then we followed up on it, and I thought it should have been put in the SEDS, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't all pulled together as far as like a plan. And as I was saying, I was telling the commissioners about it during a break, but sometimes you have to wait for all the stars to line up and all of the things to kind of put together. But now it looks as though we're going to give another run at that. And
Well, I hope so. It's certainly a need.
It's not anything that we had, that we didn't want to do, but the
Right.
issue was that the owner was, I would say, was not very cooperative with regard to the value that he was placing on, on the
Well,
facility.
no,
I think the issue is money.
yeah, it came down to money. And
It's
Mark and I met with Delahunt's staff several times, and Rob O'Leary and the Cape Delegation.
And Delhan's people also said that there was too much money that he was asking for.
Yeah.
Okay, and I
But-
think that's what finally.
But it is what it is. We had an appraiser do the appraisal, who was a licensed appraiser, and came up with a number. The building is in disrepair, it needs to be replaced, so it's gonna cost.
it's going to
But
cost.
I can just, there's 1,100 commercial shellfish diggers on the Cape. There's 235 shellfish
There's
farms.
no question that that's.
We're looking at jobs and family
Right.
jobs.
And a potential revenue for the county down the road when you're selling off Cape and that sort of thing, I mean, in time. And the other thing is, now you can start to look at this in different ways. Wastewater, it could be part of a wastewater management piece. It can be moderate income jobs, generating
I think
income for
people have to
jobs.
understand it's the transporting of shellfish to estuaries in order to provide natural,
Attenuation, yeah.
attenuation.
Well, we've been doing this, as you know, for several years on a smaller scale. We're looking for funds to do a big scale nitrogen remediation using shellfish.
Right.
the technology's there, the information's there, it's just a matter of getting the funds to do it.
Right.
Now, having said that, if we are successful, we certainly need the seed coming from a hatchery to do that work.
Right.
So all the more important to have this. So
Yeah.
it's not just a hatchery, it's an environmental
It
technology, it's an environmental center for
It has
this type of work.
environmental impact,
Yep.
it has economic impact,
Well,
and there's
we do have to
ways
come-
that you can then sort of start looking at it. And if we can get it as part of the SEDS, then it opens it up for other grants, because it's now officially sort of been
Mm-hmm.
blessed by the federal government as a good project, and then we can look at different
Well,
funding
2,
streams.
maybe 3 years ago, I forget now. I guess it will be 3 years this summer. Lieutenant Governor Murray was at the ARC on a tour with Sarah Peak and Cleon Turner and Susan Robar was there, and myself. And we've been working on this for a while.
Right.
And everybody just, it's just a
Up
tough
until
time
the point where
economically.
somebody was willing to reach into their pocket and give us the money, everybody was interested in it.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
but when we went, again, it died at Delahunt's. Now, we got a new
Right.
congressman, now it's, we should make a run at him,
Yes.
And
That's
the
what
other
I plan
thing
to
is
do.
that Lance is working for Keating, and Stephanie Cox, who used to be
I know Steph.
Cleon,
Yeah, yeah.
Cleon's aide, is working for Keating. So there's two people that absolutely know about the project, that, they're in the office. So I think we ought to take advantage of that.
I plan to.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know they're having an open house, I think next week or the week after over there, so
Are they?
I'll be working on
Oh,
that.
send us that date
Okay.
when you have that.
Yeah, it would be
that
interesting
email,
if they
yeah.
invited us.
I just heard this yesterday, so I don't know the
Okay.
date. I was gonna go online and see if it's announced.
And nothing isn't, but these are just, it just looks like the environment is a little bit more open to different ideas, and it's not just all federal government money, but it could come from different sources. So, in conversations that we had with people on Cape, it just seems people are more interested, even though they hear the price and what's involved. So, I think it's exciting. I think it's something I've never let go of, because I always thought it was a good idea if we could just
I think we all think
get
it's a
around that
good
issue.
idea.
Yeah, it's the issue of the money. So hopefully we'll have more to report on that.
As soon as we can get together,
And-
I'm happy. The
We
reports
could
from
put
last time.
Keating's name on it.
And then we were,
We could put his name on it.
he'd love that.
Yeah, that's it.
He might give us his own money.
My second question, if you don't
Okay.
mind, is talk about what's happening at Lyme disease, and what are your thoughts about Dave Simpson's
Okay.
whole position?
Yeah.
We're going to, I'll have the paperwork for you probably next week to sign to, his personnel paper to advertise that position. So we're going to go forward. I meet with the EPA staff tomorrow. They're funding the project right now. And
The deer tick station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, they're funding that. I think it's $75,000. And we have another year left on that contract. So we all get together tomorrow, and the meeting was canceled because of snow and holidays and other reasons. But we'll get together tomorrow and discuss where we're going with this project. But definitely think we should stay with that, expand it a bit to more entomological things. Certainly a lot of interest and questions about everything from gypsy moths to winter moths to all the other
It's something that's needed, and it's
pest management
there's an
issues.
expectation on the part of the public that we have someone on your staff that can respond to that.
Right. And I know Dave did, in addition to Lyme work, he did a lot of research on pests of blueberries and so forth for farmers, and you name it.
Dave,
He did a lot of stuff.
I think the last recollection I have of Dave was over at our farm, with, what's his name? Tim.
Yes.
And they were talking about, he was giving them some, advice in terms of some issues with regard to agriculture. So he was really very active.
Oh,
in other
absolutely.
things.
And it's going to be, hard, it's big shoes to fill, but I'm planning on
Well, we do
attempting.
have to fill it.
Yes.
You have to fill it.
So that's the plan for.
Good.
In terms of, I don't know if you're at the end of your presentation, but in terms of what you're looking at for the next year, what kind of takeaway would you like us to have with regard to the, let's see, one of the things you absolutely want to get done this year?
Of all of these, which is the highest priority? Is that what you're saying? No.
Just
Just
from a
overall
philosophical
goal.
point of view, what's What's at the top of your list? That you know, like, sure.
Gee, that's a tough one, because
you
we
do
need
so
people
much.
and we need equipment for the people to get the job done.
Well, that's good.
It's in our time.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's hard.
All right, did you have anything else?
I guess two other quick things. One, when I put together the budget, I put in the numbers for these new positions. If for some reason you choose not to fund them, I hope will be in a position to revert back to the current situation and put back.
Yeah.
For example, I put in year-round permanent household hazardous waste. And if that's not approved, I hope we can continue with the seasonal person.
Right, right.
So I wanted the opportunity to
It's
go
not
back.
an we understand it's not an either or.
Yes.
Okay, got
And
it.
and likewise with the buy fresh.
Or either or nor, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's not either or, yeah.
He's afraid they get zeroed out. And we won't.
Yeah, we want to.
And the other thing is, I have a pretty talented staff, and I have to admit that with their science
Pardonable
background.
pride is accepted. You
Yeah.
do have a talented
Yeah.
staff.
And I'd love to have an opportunity when, I don't know when it's going to happen, but to have some of those positions revisited for regrading on their behalf. I think would be well worth it.
That
I
may
know-
come up as part of the whole countywide
Yeah,
kind of
that
services
assessment
study.
now, yeah.
Okay.
Maggie and I have been talking about it a little bit.
I know I think similar positions in other areas in the county
Sure.
might be at a higher grade, and I just think it's well worth them having an outsider look at this.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, when the outsider comes in and he starts looking at it, make sure that your people are prepared to give a very strong pitch
Yep.
for everything that
Well,
they
that's
do.
how it works. They
Yeah.
interview
Yeah.
the staff
Yeah.
and look at comps and stuff like that. So.
We most people are at the master's
Oh, yeah.
level. A new person I just hired is a PhD in science backgrounds, and
You know,
Who's that?
Hide the bushel basket.
Heidi.
Make sure.
What is she doing?
Marine Bill's old position.
Oh, Bill's position. Yeah.
Okay, make sure that they don't hide their light under a bushel basket.
Yeah. And the other, in filling a position like the Lyme disease entomologist at the level we're advertising, it's a challenge, particularly moving to the Cape, finding if the person is not here currently, of course, but if a person had to relocate here and at the cost of housing here, it's a challenge to find people that we want with their backgrounds, with the backgrounds we expect.
Doesn't Rhode Island have a school that specializes in this?
Well,
I know they have one. I know that
UMass as well. The University of Rhode Island has an entomology department, so does the University of Mass.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking in terms of someone who lives in Rhode Island might be able to commute to a job here as opposed to somebody in Amherst.
Depends on the cost of gas, if it's up to $4.
Well, we've got, does Stacy Gallagher still live in Rhode Island?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be still operable.
Okay, I just
if
thought
that's
I'd throw that
not
out and would love to have an opportunity to go to bat for.
Are you guys going to have a
Okay.
booth at the MMA conference?
No, we're not.
No, you're not going to be there?
No.
Nobody going to be there?
When we had a booth there, we had a grant that provided funds for us to rent
Yeah,
booths, but
right.
they don't come cheap.
No.
But the grants have cheap.
Is Leo going to carry a flag at all?
Leo might be there with Farm Bureau. I would think the state
Farm
Farm
Bureau
Bureau
is there.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
We were there on the
Why
aquaculture
don't,
program.
why don't you give him a call and let's guilt him into handing out some of your stuff when you get there.
I think he would anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, that's it, I guess. Unless you have questions, I'm happy to go through any number, any line items, or whatever you'd like to.
You answered the question I had about the 25,000, which was not there.
You mean the regional?
The household hazardous
Right.
waste piece, the 25,000 regional fund.
And we should tell folks that, that are watching that although we might not be going over line by line, that all of this information on what you do is accessed through your webpage, and that is
CapeCodExtension.org.
capecodeextension.org. And we would encourage people, to take the time to actually go through and see all the things that, that our Cape Cod Extension does for people here on the Cape.
No, it does. It's quite broad
Yep.
and reaches a lot of different
Thank you,
things.
Bill.
Okay,
And you
you're
do a
welcome.
great
Thank
job.
you all. Appreciate your help and your listening.
And
We can.
Yep, thank you.
hopefully we'll be meeting soon and get back to them as
Oh, yeah,
whatever
that's
we're
right.
doing.
She's your new liaison.
Well, yes, I'm your new liaison,
I
so
read that. Yes, thank you.
even though I was kind of, always had this in my head. I'm glad to be part of that team now.
See,
so.
we'll see the dirt under your fingernails after a while.
Yes.
Dig in.
Hopefully I'll
right,
learn how to grow something out of this. Then I'll feel like I got,
Put in a seed and it just pops out.
so, I was over at the county farm quite a bit this holiday season. Number one, I got the most beautiful Christmas tree for my $34, and that was all sizes. And I just happened to, and even my daughter would say, "That is a proud, proud tree," because it was really very beautiful. And it didn't have to have anything.
Was it a cut tree?
It was a cut tree.
That's a good price.
And then it was 34. I mean, any tree on the lot was $34. That's the way it was. And I just happened to say, "I'll take that one," and it turned out to be a beautiful tree. And the other thing is they had, little wreaths and different things that, and I just bought a ton of stuff over there when I was going to a house, a little gift, a house gift. Yeah, they did.
He's doing a
done
super
some great
job,
thing.
mate.
Yes, he is.
So,
and,
he really is very productive.
He's done a very good job, and I know that he wants to come over here at some point.
I've talked to him.
Yeah, and instead of us just going over there, he'd just like to talk to us
He's going to
about.
come in. I think I scheduled him first meeting in May.
Good.
March.
Good.
Just to come in and tell you about some things. And then we were talking about maybe early June when he's actually got some stuff out there
Right.
to take a field trip.
Right,
Well,
right. We'll see
Well,
what's
I know that
growing.
near the end of the summer when those potatoes come up, they're the best.
Yeah.
All those
Well,
little
and the eggs are
experimental-
great.
In addition
I buy
to
my
the
eggs
farm,
there.
which was very successful, the Cape Cod Hook Fishermen Association had it as a drop-off point for their community-supported fishery. So every Friday afternoon, you could go and pick up your fish there.
Right.
Oh yeah, it worked out phenomenally. And they're planning on continuing.
Oh, that's
But
great to know.
they had it all filleted in a refrigerated truck.
Wow, that's good.
And there were 2 sites this year in the pilot program: Barnstable at the farm and Chatham at the fish pier. And there were 100 participants, and it just went very well. The fishermen are happy. We're happy. And Tim, it worked out for Tim because it was convenient for people to pick up the fish and then go into the farm stand and get the potatoes and carrots or whatever else they needed. So this is why this Buy Fresh program is really working.
Well,
I wish I'd
it's a
known that
great
because we've
program.
been buying day-boat fish over at what used to be Harney's over at
Yes.
over in Dennis.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's Chatham Fish.
Chatham Fish, that's a great place. I
Oh,
get
yeah,
fish.
great fish.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, you look for the day-boat fish, and if you can find it, at the farm, that's great.
That's
Yes.
they're planning on expanding that this year. So, and they were part of the grant we got from the EDC.
Yeah.
We're going to be applying again, so hopefully we'll get funded.
Yeah. Well, they were very excited about it. They all thought it was great. So.
Oh, good. Good. All righty, thanks again.
All right,
Yep.
Bill. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, see ya.
That concludes if you signed everything.
I have signed
Okay,
everything.
then I would entertain a motion to go into recess.
No.
No, he has
I
no
have-
business for
I have
us.
just a couple of things. Well, I have my weekly, which turned into a bi-weekly report.
Oh yes.
So take a
Beth
copy. Let
Albert's
me just
here.
give me one back.
Come in, Beth Albert.
Give me that one. I did get your
More
email.
budget stuff to do?
So we'll do that. Actually, probably works out better because Pat had to go. She had to leave. She had a medical procedure scheduled, so she was leaving anyways, and she's left a little bit ago. So I assume that's what you're here for.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah, we're okay. So we were originally supposed to do the Human Rights Commission. There was some confusion as to when and where and how, and we will reschedule them, and that's not an
Perfect.
issue.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say while you're here? Anything we need to know?
No, not right now. I don't think so.
I'll stop by. I stopped by yesterday. You were told that, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I'll stop by on my way out because I gotta go over to the assembly.
Okay.
So,
You're
so
gonna be there?
there's the end, my weekly
sorry?
report.
11.
Okay, so storm closure, we went through that.
Yeah, just to let you know how the storm closure thing works. About the AmeriCorps did their Martin Luther King Day thing.
There were almost 200 people there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there. I actually had some stuff in here
I
when I was
did
going to
not-
give this to you
I
before
was
it
away. I could not-
went to let you know how to register and stuff, but that's very good. Because of the storm last Wednesday, the Brewster Planning Board wind turbine hearing got rescheduled, so that'll take place on February 9th. And finally, I just wanted to let you know that the retirement party for Bob Lawton is scheduled for Thursday, February 17th. It's at the new Cape Cod Irish Village in West Yarmouth. And there is a cost that will provide funds for the hors d'oeuvres and cocktails, which are at 5:30, and dinner at 6. And the cost also includes a contribution to a present they're going to get them, which I'm not sure what it is.
Well,
Great.
at the Martin Luther King event, I was a bag man.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. You know, is that a
Collect the money?
No, stuffing bags.
Oh, good.
Good.
Oh, yeah, you were
That's
doing
good.
the stuffing, yes. They did
So,
lots of
you know,
projects.
appropriate skill
It
for
was
politicians.
amazing.
So, next week, I do have, it's the IT budget. That's the only one that I do have.
Have we had a commissioner's,
No, we're going to talk about that next week. You do
Oh,
have that
good.
package. We'll talk about the commissioners and shared costs. Those are kind of the two that are left. And we'll have a general budget discussion about what the budget looks like.
okay, and that's where the virtual meeting thing that I have a bug about that I want to.
We'll have to talk to him about that. I think he, maybe, and you and I are not all on the same page, because he described it one way, I said I described it a different way, so we're going to have to figure out exactly what it is you want.
Well, there are some examples that...
Not now.
I know that, but there are examples that he could look at. There's a small municipality out in Texas that uses this, this format in order
Yeah.
to get contact.
Yeah, I think it's just a misunderstanding
the town of
between what
Reading.
you've described to me and maybe what you've described to him.
And I
And so
haven't
when
talked to
I
John, I
said,
only talked to Billy, and I told him to go to the town of
Well,
Reading.
maybe that's
that has
exactly why.
Okay, that has a monthly meeting where the selectmen discuss things of general interest to the community
Yeah.
and look for community input, and that's done. That's done by the town in order to encourage more participation
Yeah.
by town members. The whole point of all of this is that how can we come up with something that makes it easy for people to engage in our process? And as we've suggested, it isn't the idea of doing it every day or every week, but at least on a regular basis that we have something that people do not have to come to this building, but yet can both observe and participate, which is part of the civic process.
so next week, we'll start at 9, and at 9:30, Arts Foundation is coming in. Maggie's not there anymore, but I did talk to Rob Sennett, and he was the interim, but he's now
That's
leaving.
Keith Howard has now been.
I was gonna say Kevin.
No, is it Kevin?
I
Yeah, it's
thought it was
Kevin Howard.
Kevin Howard.
Yeah,
Kevin will be
I
here.
remember that. Yeah, Kevin Howard, and I understand that Rob Sennett is still going to be on their board, which
Yes.
I think is very nice.
But I think it's Kevin who will be here and giving the
Howard,
presentation.
He
so-
already warned me when we were going through the interview that he was going to be hitting us up for more money.
More money.
Yeah, well,
more
I said,
money.
so as I said to him, you could try.
So you can always ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. That's right. And at 10:30, Elder Services will be here. Leslie Shear will be here. So, and I don't have. They bring their stuff with them. I don't
Yeah.
have anything with them. So you have IT,
And
and
by the
then
way,
we'll
the
do a
Meals,
general
the
budget.
Meals on Wheels that we've supported in the past is probably one of the best, let's say, programs done by an NGO, with our support that's out there. I can't know how many how many people who know frail elders speak about how important it is to people to get not just the sustenance, but also the contact that comes out of that.
Right. And then on February 2nd, we are having what we should have had last week, which is Human Services, Cove, and RDO. And then I will probably add Human Rights to that meeting. That would make sense with Beth being there as well. So that's good. So I'll
Okay,
probably
and
add that.
also on February 2nd at 3 o'clock, that's when Lance is trying.
Then you're talking about Congressman Keating coming in,
Right.
which will work fine. We should. That's good.
That's the time that was in, and I copied you on that email, I think,
Did you do it today or yesterday?
yesterday.
I didn't see it.
I saw it.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, anyway, Lance is saying he's trying to set it up.
Okay, yeah, I have it. Oh, that's
And I
fine.
gave you that note,
Yeah.
that has it on there. So we could schedule it, and if he doesn't show up, he doesn't show up, but...
Well, he'll confirm it as we
The
get
other
closer.
possibility is, if I may, he's being asked to do a CLI, the Citizens Leadership Institute, and I think that's February 18th. So if he's there that day, it might he might try to.
What's the 18th? That's the
I think it's a Friday.
That's
Yeah.
Friday.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we
he's
could do a
only coming-
special meeting if you wanted to.
So he's only coming,
Well, I'm just saying he happens to be, I know that he said yes to it, so whether his schedule permits anything else.
Right.
But if
Lance
he can't
can't get
make
him
it,
on the
then maybe
second.
he can.
Right, and we
And then
could
it would
do a
be
special
two, he
meeting.
could hit two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
and you say that they're opening up one financial place soon?
I don't know.
Yes,
I
they are.
don't
They're
know
down
whose
at,
office it's gonna be.
it's over by Barolo's.
Yeah,
Barolo's.
Yeah, it's on the other side of.
Yeah,
the
they're
street from-
there.
yeah.
I talked to Stephanie, they're there, and, but they're still setting things up. you
Okay,
know.
so that's the time we'll talk to other people.
Right.
So good, if we, I'll look forward to Lance contacting
Yeah.
me or whatever. That's fine.
Okay, and if he contacts me in the meantime, as I did with, I'll make sure that I copy you on it, so you're aware of what's going on. Okay, now, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, do you have anything that you're involved with you want to talk about?
No, I don't think I do. I
Okay.
think that what I mentioned before was what I was the other thing I was going to say. So
In addition to the MLK event, before, I had intended to go to the DECA judging and then go to the Cape Cod Commission on the 6th. But when I was in there, they said they had 38 kids that I was supposed to see. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm saying, I could see
Right.
about 4 of them.
Right.
So I didn't go to the Cape Cod Commission. But these kids were wonderful. They're all high school kids, and they came in with the equivalent of a business plan oriented towards different subjects. The group that I had were the ones looking at business ethics, and some of them got it. But the thing was that they all were wonderful kids. They came from all over southeastern Massachusetts, including Cape Cod, and it's very hopeful to see bright kids, trying out for let's say showing what they have. So all good stuff. And I went to the Family Advisory Committee over at Cape Cod Hospital, and they are coming up with some process on how to evaluate what is important with regard to an organization. And one of the pieces of advice that the facilitator gave us, which I think we could use, that before we start saying we're going to solve this problem, we really need to wait until we hear all of the problem and all of the agencies that are involved in it. And I thought that was a very, very useful thing for us,
Right.
for us to remember.
I do have something I wanted to tell you. I'm on the National Seashore Advisory, so we had been talking about not only wind regulations. I was kind of giving them an update of what we were doing. I was telling about the vegetation management and the watershed series. So they asked if they could have an update on where the commission was in the vegetation. So Paul went down there last week and gave that, and what came into the discussion was the IBM and the Center of Water Excellence, and they have great little graphics over there in the Cape Cod Commission. So they have a big water drop on coastal studies because they're very involved in this whole thing with us. So that, and Rich Delaney chairs the National Seashore Advisory. So it was a very informative discussion. They were very impressed with the watershed tour series.
It's it's unfortunate that more people have not come out for that when it comes to their town.
Exactly.
I've been to 2 of them,
And
both of them were extremely informative.
It's very enlightening
and
for
very-
people.
Yes, and the shame of it is that is the time when you find out more about what's going on in your neighborhood than anything else.
And you also-
citizens have the responsibility of showing up to these things.
And you have an understanding of, now when they start talking about wastewater and different alternatives and different funding mechanisms, what that is all about, what is the problem and what does it encompass. So it does give you a much better sense of that. But
Maybe we ought to tell everybody we're going to send them a bill of $3 million if they don't show up.
but
Maybe that'll get 'em
well,
out.
they're probably afraid of that. That's why they keep trying to avoid the question. But But I did want to just say that the county was down there and everybody was really impressed. And I do want to just say, on behalf of the National Seashore, it is their 50th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
So there'll be
That's right.
lots of activities, and in the month of January, on Sundays, they have free movies. There's a series of 6, and they include things like Guns of Navarone and Breakfast at Tiffany's, the movies that were out at the time. So to kind of give people, like, where were people sort of like culturally, you know, at that time? And what was
Guns and Neverland, that's not the one with Gregory Peck.
Yes, it is the one with Gregory Peck.
Okay.
And so there's
It's
a
the
difference
next one
here,
that
so
was
they can,
Return to Neverland,
and that's
I
at
The visitor center.
the visitor center at Salt
And people ought to
Pond.
go down there and get their
In East
golden
Ham.
passport.
They should
of
get
a
their
certain
golden
age.
passport, but people should be aware of the National Seashore and different activities, and they will be having some big stuff, and I'm going to be on part of that committee as far as like what are they going to do for their 50th.
Oh,
So
that's exciting. That's right.
maybe we'll
I'm trying
get
to
in
think
there
of
with
another
them.
movie that was popular at that time.
Oh, there was
We
1,000 of them. I
replaced
said
it.
no James Bond movies.
Goldfinger.
Sean Connery, like, you know, whacking.
Well, the first one was in the early
Galore.
60s. Yeah, right.
Dr. No was the first one, I think.
Dr. No.
I looked back at that and I said, oh my
Casino
God.
Royale, I think, was the first one, right?
No, Casino Royale
That
was
was
the first book that, what's his name wrote?
Ian Fleming.
Yeah,
Ian Fleming,
Right.
right. But it was never made into a movie until not too
Just-
long ago.
just recently.
But that was the first
That was
James
pretty
Bond
cool.
Where it
book.
all began.
Okay, well, on that note, is there anything else?
Well,
I have
I'm going to
nothing.
call for recess and we will reconvene over at the assembly.
I will
Good.
make that motion that we recess and we reconvene over at the assembly at 4 o'clock.
Second, and all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We have a recess.
Steve, did you have something?